Hey everyone, welcome back to the cabin. I'm actually going to walk down to the creek today, which would be a little bit different than normal, but it was acting like it was going to rain a while ago. It actually clouded up real good and started sprinkling. I can see some more clouds back off in the distance because we're supposed to get rain most of the day. Anyway, it kind of rained a little bit, then quit, and we had a break in the sky, but it looks like that break is not going to last very long, so thought I would take the dogs down here and get them wet and let them cool off a little bit. You know, these guys are always so happy to get to go down here to the creek. They didn't know what to think today when I started walking down here because it's been a while since I walked. I used to do it constantly every day, probably 5 or 6 times a day, so they didn't know what was up when I started walking, only I was going somewhere. So I mean, it hadn't been long since we've been there, but I thought I would take them down again before it starts raining. You know, I can tell fall is in the air because we've got leaves beginning to fall every time I come down here and ride this little trail. Then I'll come back the next day and I'll find some leaves that have turned, and the poplar trees, some of them are beginning to get a little bit yellow around here. I don't know about other places, but it's not going to be long, I know that for sure, because September's almost already here. You can see all those leaves that are landing here on the path. So yeah, it's not going to be long and fall will be here. But that's a sign of cooler weather, so I seem to get a lot more work done when it's cool, because in the summertime, I know you can't see it on video, but I've had to run in the house many times and wipe off and sit in front of the fan and kind of cool off a little bit. Sometimes I even have to go in and change clothes because the clothes that I have on down to my underwear are wet. So yeah, it's been really humid here. You know, this year we have probably had more wild hog activity than we've had in several years. It was about 3 years ago, I think, that they came through here, and they probably spent about a month. But this time it seemed like they have stayed all summer long, because I could ride the four-wheeler down around this area and I would see, you know, on each side of the little path that I have cut through the woods right here, down in this bottom field next to the creek, I could see places where they had been rooting up trying to find, you know, nuts and like walnuts and foraging for different things. But yeah, we have had more hog activity this year than we've had in years past. So here's a little story that happened the other night. I was sitting inside, I was editing some videos, right? The dogs were laying on the front porch. It was already dark, and like they always do, they're just out there kind of chilling out because the temperature has dropped and they're enjoying themselves, you know, and it's not going to be long and they'll fall asleep. But now if something gets their attention outside, you know, they'll bark or they'll take off the porch and run after it, whatever it may be. Well, I heard the dogs growl, and then all of a sudden they took off the porch. Well, I stood up and I started walking towards my bedroom, and I could hear on that back corner of the house where my bedroom is, something was really moving fast, because I could hear it go kind of like that, like it was really running and, you know, trying to gain momentum very fast. And the dogs were right after it, and it went off that little road down behind the cabin that goes down in the hollow. And I have heard, you know, Smokey pretty much bark different types of ways, but never heard him this way before. I mean, he was woo, 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 woo. And whatever it was serious. It got their attention. I'm thinking, you know, this is about the time that people would harvest apples in this area, and of course, you know, we have black bears up in the national park, and living around in the lower foothills of the Smoky Mountains, right? So a lot of times you will see bear hunters up and down the road with their dogs and stuff like that when it comes time for that season, and it's just about time. So I think that whatever it was something big because of the sound that it was making, trying to get away very fast. And it was like a grunt and a heavy, like like that when it was moving. So I assume that it was either a bear that had wandered down, maybe looking for some apples and things of that nature, or it could have been a hog. Probably what had happened is it had kind of wandered up in the area, you know, checking things out. Didn't know that the dogs were laying on the porch, and actually stepped out close enough where the dogs either heard it or smelled it. And then when they took off the porch, it was time for whatever it was to make tracks, right? So yeah, that's a little story that happened the other night. So I'm going to have to be on the lookout as far as keeping any scraps outside. Now, I'm not really worried about the animals that I've got, because now that whatever it was knows that those dogs are up there, probably is not going to be back, because these dogs were not like normal. They were in attack mode basically. And so I'm not saying that, you know, if it was a bear, that the bear couldn't handle these two dogs, but I think that he would prefer not to, because a lot of times if the bear knows, or if a bear knows that you're around, chances are you'll never see it, because it's going to go the opposite direction. I don't know if you can see those right there in the weeds that have grown up in this bottom down there. I've got some logs laying there. I've got logs lying there. I've got a couple of stacks of logs over here, one of those being oak, which I won't use. I'll save it for a special project, but most of those are pine. I've got a few lying back over here, some of that slab wood. I've got this big pile of slab wood right here. I've got another pile of slab wood right here. I've got a pile of slab wood over here, and I've got a pile of smaller poplar logs, which actually was the logs that were stacked up behind the sawmill long ago, before we actually started grading off that area to put that new multi-purpose building. Then I have a couple of cedar logs over here, a poplar, and then this is where I brought that large bamboo down here to save it for a future project. I've also got a pile of poplar logs right here, which there's probably maybe 25 of them right here, that the average diameter is probably 14 to 16 inches. So I'll have enough wood to get a really good start on that shed, or that multi-purpose barn, that portion of it for the tractor. I will probably use pine poles, but then the framing and everything, I can make it out of poplar, because it's going to be covered up, because the pine, I think, will last a little bit longer being exposed to weather. But yeah, I've got enough material to start with. So I've got a couple of options. I can start working on the root cellar, which I would really like to do, or I can start working on this multi-purpose barn. Now, I was telling my son that I'm not going to have time this year to finish this whole thing, but we did get the new tractor, and it would be nice if I had a place to park the tractor. For one thing, I don't want it sitting out where the sunlight and the UV rays actually get to the hydraulic hoses, because it can deteriorate them over time. So it would be nice to have a place, like I said, to be able to park the tractor. So I told him that what I could probably do is I could clear out this area where this trailer's sitting and those tables are right there, and I could actually build 1/3 of that, which is going to be kind of like an overhang or a shed roof off the side of my main barn. The more I think about it, it needs to be open, because the box blade and the boom on the back with the grapple in the front and the size of this tractor is about 26 to 28 feet in length from front to rear. So the area that I have down here, I can only go 18 deep. So what I would have to do is have that, at least that back wall open, where I could back the tractor in there and actually be able to park everything with the boom actually sticking out or taking it off. I use it quite often, not as much as I use the front end loader, which the grapple is attached to, but I do use it quite frequently. So to take it off, I'm not really sure yet, but if I took it off, I would have just enough to be able to park the tractor in there with everything under roof, I believe. So what I may do is go ahead and put off working on the root cellar until next year, and go ahead and at least start down here working on the foundation to get this multi-purpose barn going. And now when I build this, I'll build it to where I can actually add on to that later. But I think that that might be a smart option. That way that the tractor doesn't have to sit out all winter, because I don't think it's really going to take me that long to do it, but it will take a couple of months. But I think that that may be the next project that I actually start on up here at the homestead, so that I'll be able to get it in out of the weather. I've been working on this rock wall a little bit at a time. Generally what I try to do is either in the morning or in the evening, I'll mix up a couple of bags of mortar and I'll come and lay a section, because generally that takes me a couple of hours to do, and wipe it down and get it looking good and get it all rinsed off, and then let it set up for the rest of the day. So that gives me a half a day that I can actually work on another project. So with that said, the next several videos that you guys see, you'll probably still see me working on the rock veneer, plus the new project that I was talking about down there, which is going to be 1/3 of the building to park the tractor in. I thought it would take a few minutes to answer some questions that we have been getting. Had someone wanted to know, said, Richard, the smokehouse is shaping up nicely. Just curious, when the time comes for Porky to make the ultimate sacrifice, probably in November, December, will she meet her fate at the homestead, or will she be sent to a slaughterhouse for processing? Then went on to say, you know, hopefully in the spirit of self-sufficiency, you take us through the process that the Appalachian ancestors used to harvest the animals. YouTube kind of frowns on different things like that. They might consider that a very sensitive kind of subject, so I probably won't show that process there. I can show the process, you know, of smoking the meat or whatever, but as far as harvesting, I probably won't do that, like I said, just because, for those reasons, because I don't ever want to get flagged as a channel that does that. Because there are so many questions that I have to answer every time I load up a video. There's a whole checklist of things that I've got to go through. Is it sensitive material? Is there children in it? Is it something that you know, is it scary or unsafe? Are there guns involved? I mean, just a whole list of stuff that I have to check off. No, 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 no. So I've tried to kind of stay away from that, because I don't want you know, for them to basically take that video and demonetize it because YouTube is upset about it. So, and then some people, you know, are sensitive about that kind of material. But just know this: when I was a kid growing up here, we harvested 2 every fall. We made it a family affair, and we would work during the whole weekend, actually, you know, scalding the pig, getting the hair off, processing the meat, making the sausage, getting everything cut up, packaged, and stuff like that for the freezer. So you know, that's something that I've done over and over and over, and to do it again would not be too big a deal, other than a whole weekend. But my point is, you know, if I can't find someone to do that, to package it up for me. See, here's the thing: a lot of places want you to bring it in live. Well, I don't have the ability to get that hog out live. I don't have anything to transport it in. But what I wanted to do was take care of business up there, lift her out with the tractor boom, and load her in the truck. I could go ahead and you know, process the nasty stuff here, and then load her up in the truck and take her to the processing plant. But not really sure. Now, I have heard of one person that is not too far away that used to do that, so I'm going to have to try to contact them to see if they'll you know, do that for me. like I say, otherwise I may have to go ahead and do it here because I really don't have any way to transport it. Someone else wants to know, are there plans to put the steps back at the back door of the cabin? Probably should, just for safety reasons. I probably will rig something up there temporary because I have to move everything in order to lay that rock veneer all the way down the back side of the cabin and then go, you know, I've got half the cabin done now basically. So I've got the other half to do. And I've only got, you know, basically the month of September to get it done because the days are going to start getting shorter. It won't have enough time to dry. And I just prefer to go ahead and get that done so that I know that it's done before winter time. Somebody else says that we sure miss seeing you, but I sure hope that you are getting some rest. I have been getting some rest. I've been visiting more with my sister, who's not doing too well. And you know, other family members, been spending more time with my daughter. She says that she can tell, you know, that there's a big difference up here because I seem to be more laid back. So, you know, I'm actually enjoying spending more time with them and still being able to film up here, get work done, and actually show you all more during that process as well. So that's actually worked out, you know, something that we didn't really plan. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing well. Family's doing well, and we're still moving forward. Someone else said the smokehouse looks great. You have great skills, great videos. I don't know about the skills, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the videos. Keep up the great work. Do you guys still, or did you guys do away with the monthly giveaways? No, we haven't, but to be honest with you, I had so much that happened, so much that was going on when that happened, that I honestly, to be honest with you all, I just basically forgot about it. And I told my son the other day, I said, well, I think what we'll do is we'll probably start back in September doing the giveaway because, you know, I just, you know, honestly forgot. So the excavator is probably going to be up here really soon, and I'll be scraping the gravel off of the top area where I've actually been parking, and we'll probably dig a little bit of that dirt down, and then I've got some topsoil left that I can actually bring up here and spread around, probably just enough to do that area right there. Then he's going to cut a ditch that's going to go over between the woodshed and the tiny house to take care of anything that comes down off the hill. And it's still ditched, and it will still run actually behind the cabin there. So what I intend on doing once I get my rock all the way around, especially on the back side too, I will put some more topsoil back there, I think, and go ahead and slope it away towards the wall that I built down there. And then the gutters, that would be the biggest thing. But you know, gutters, they cost quite a bit of money. It's going to be $1,500 to $2,000 just to do two sides 40 feet long. Can you imagine that? But anyway, I really want power worse than that. I think that I can deal with the water running off down the ditches to, you know, try to go ahead and get solar power in here. I don't know, you know, there's just so many things. We're down to big ticket items now. We're down to solar power, we're down to rain catchment, we're down to gutters, we're down to you know, a lot of the big ticket items that are, you know, the hot water heater and everything, getting the plumbing in there and getting all of that set up. So we'll just have to see, you know, it's whatever we feel is going to be worst, you know, that we want worse at the time, because, you know, I am on a fixed income and I don't have the means to be able to do all that at one time. So, but yeah, you know, it would be nice to have all of that done, but you know, we're getting there a little at a time. So I now have the smokehouse burn, which is something that I've been meaning to do. So we're almost ready for harvest season, which I think is going to be around November for the hog. I've still got to finish the fire pit down there and put the door on it, but it's pretty much ready to go. So not really looking forward to all of that work. If I can find someone, I may go ahead and have pay to have it actually cut up. But if I can't, then we'll make it a family affair over the weekend like I used to do when I was a kid, and we'll work up all the meat and get it ready for the freezer. Well, I was just looking over there. We got some really black clouds coming our way. And it sounds like every once in a while I can hear a drop on the roof out here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this video down here. Guys, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with us up here behind the scenes at the cabin to find out what's going on. We hope that each and every one of you have a fantastic day. You all take care, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.